This fucking horrible thing just happened in Vegas, right? Like really, really, like when I went numb kind of when I read it, and I just sort of I turned my computer off, and well, I didn't turn it off. I never do. I should. It burns a lot of electricity, as it turns out, but that's another rant. I shut the fucking laptop, and I got my dogs, and I walked outside, and I just kind of felt this haunting emptiness, this kind of like the feeling you get when your brain tries to imagine what 58, what is it, 60, 70 apocalypses happened, and then those 70 apocalypses, the shockwaves from those apocalypses will forever roll out into like all the families and all the friends and all the people who have PTSD now, and all the people who have to deal with the first-hand glimpse of how sulfuric things can suddenly become, no matter where you're at when in this current age. And it's fucked up. I mean, man, it's fucking flags at half-mast, rethinking our gun policy, infinite tweets. Kimmel is crying. And so then you follow that down because we're like, how could this happen? It seems meaningless. We don't know the reason behind it. What is this? Why did he? We want a reason. And then you let's follow this fucking violence path down, right? And then suddenly that's where you start getting into the military industrial complex. And this is where you will really run in to the big fucking wall that nobody wants to talk about. Nobody, especially, you're not supposed to bring it up whenever there's a act of random horrific violence in this country. But then suddenly you look at just the last 20 years of American geopolitics, and you realize that we have inarguably been accidentally, senselessly blowing up people. And we've been doing it with something even worse than fucking guns. We've been using bombs and drones and accidentally blowing up people all over the planet. And these aren't just people with guns that we've been blowing up. These aren't just ISIS terrorists. These aren't just nefarious crooks that have somehow incurred the wrath of the great dragon. These are just friends, kids, lots of kids, people at weddings. We machine gun them. We've been doing this. And when I say we, I do mean we, if you're in the United States and you're listening to this. So it's kind of like, when I say we, it's like a big pie, right? Let's look at the United States as a big pie. And because we're all paying taxes, most of us are, I sure as fuck am, then that means that a little tiny piece of that pie, that's our piece, and we pay into it because we have to. Because if we don't, and this is where the other aspect of violence and this giant violence push comes in, if we don't, we'll get arrested. That people will forcefully arrest us. And that is the kind of underlying truth in anything to do in our society, is that hidden outside the walls of our zeitgeist are dudes in Darth Vader outfits with fucking guns. And if you don't follow the rules that have been set up, then you'll get arrested for sure. I mean, it'll be a slow process. Like, it'll start off with some letters and phone calls, and you'll have your shit taken away from you first, and then you'll end up maybe on the street, or you'll end up you can't go to prison. There's lots of different ways to go to prison just by not doing things the state wants you to do. So this is where you begin to, your brain begins to start, my brain at least, the rainbow wheel starts spinning, because it's like, wow, that there truly are different layers of violence. in this massive gobstopper that is the United States. And the further in we get, the more we realize that the core, the core of it is not the military industrial complex. There's a core underneath that. And that core is that to enforce law, we must use violence in this culture. And that's where it gets really weird. Now we're dealing with kind of like some interesting just elemental forces. Now we've broken it down to just like, okay, well, we have to use, of course we have to use violence. I mean, I need somebody to help me if I have a home invasion, or we need like with this drunk driver isn't going to listen to me. We need people with, weapons and authority to stop the people from killing us, and to stop the people from stealing from us, and to stop the people from killing and stealing, for hurting us, basically. So we need a kind of police force to keep people from stealing from us and from killing us. This is, of course, kind of a no-brainer. In India, there was a warrior class in the caste system, which in the Bhagavad Gita is what Arjuna was, the Kshaitra, the defender, and somebody who's there to protect you. And because like a lot of us I don't know how to fight, I could probably bite the shit out of somebody, and if there was like a sharp thing lying around, I'd have as good a chance as anybody else to stick it in someone's face. But I'm if you had me in a lineup, you're not going to pick me to be your bodyguard if I'm next to the football player that said that stupid misogynistic thing. So we need it, right? That's the idea. Well, we need it. We need it because people malfunction. We need people to protect us. And I don't know. It's hard for me to argue with that. Even Ram Dass says there's at times that we need to restrain people. I think you'd be an idiot if you didn't think that. But where it gets fucking weird is when laws start appearing that are being enforced by people with guns that aren't really based on protecting us. That's where it starts getting weird. And then you start running into just the classic situation that anybody has seen in a mob movie, where somebody's like paying a protection fee, which is essentially paying the mob not to rob them. And so that's where you run into some really fascinating, conundrums that's way underneath the politicians being bought out, way underneath the president being a psychopath, way underneath lobbyists. Is like down there, you just run into a real basic predicament, which is at one point we thought it would be a good idea to help pay for someone to run the shit that needs to be run in this game that we're playing called the United States. Because who the fuck wants to do that? Who wants to actually run rules and shit? I don't want to do that. I don't want to be in charge of like budgeting money for highways. I don't want to be in charge of figuring out who's going to clean the parks. I don't want to be in charge of who's figuring out, how to set up a city and make streets work. And I don't want to be in charge of the person who's like determining the people who can set up cities to make street work. I don't want to do any of that. It's too much. So it's like, fuck, yeah, I'll pay rent. No problem, man. What do you need? We got 300 million of us here, 600 million. I don't know how many we're up to in the United States now. Let me check. We got 323 million of us. If we all throw in a few bucks, then there'll be enough money to pay these people who are insane or like generous enough to sacrifice their own joy in living autonomously in a free country to be in charge of, planning shit out that none of us want to do. So I think it's a kind of obvious thing. You're going to need that in any community. Somebody's going to have to figure out who does the dishes. Someone's going to have to do the dishes. This is just reality, man. But then when those people that we were like, okay, we're going to give you some money to do this, and thank you, Jesus fucking Christ, you're insane. Why would you ever want to do that? We're not giving you that much money, and it's not that fun a job. When those people start being like, hey, yeah, but, you know, we need a little bit more money because the amount of money that we thought we needed isn't enough to do the streets the way you guys wanted them to be done. So we're going to need a little more money. And you're like, yeah, of course, no problem. Here's a little bit more money. And then they're like, oh, yeah, but we need a little bit more money than we thought we did because we actually, as it turns out, these fucking bridges, man, they're like, you got to hire architects, and those guys are really expensive. So we just, please, can we just get a little bit more? And then somewhere along the way, it goes from being, can you guys give us a little bit more money to you give us more money? You have to. You have no choice. We have decided this. And now the people that you hired just to do your boring ass shit have suddenly become your rulers. And now what gets really fucking weird is they start blowing up people who are just trying to play other games in different parts of the world. So here we are playing this game, the game called Being in the United States. Over there, they're playing the game called Being in Iraq. Over there, they're playing the game called Being in North Korea. Over there, they're playing the game called Being in Iran. And now all of a sudden, we're like, fuck that game. Those guys over there, they're fucking playing the game that might fuck up our game. So we got to bomb those bitches. We got to embargo those bitches. Meanwhile, what's happening here is the ruling class of each of these countries have decided to fight the ruling class of the other countries. That's what's happening. The people in the country itself might be a little brainwashed. They might be a little conditioned. Certainly in the United States, I'm sure there's people who just hate the Russians. They don't even know why. They just fucking hate those Russians. The Russians are meddling with the election. No, the Russians are not meddling with the election. The Russian government is meddling with the election. The North Koreans aren't threatening the United States. The leaders of North Korea are threatening the United States. The fucking military that has taken power in North Korea is threatening the United States. The fucking people of Iran are not threatening the United States. Their leaders are. And if you are naive enough to assume that in any of these places the leadership represents the people, then my friend, you need to go find some fucking something powerful and eat it and and then think about it under the effect of like some good dose of psilocybin taken responsibly according to your genetic profile based on your understanding of who you are. Of course, if you have any kind of mental disorders, including bipolar, you shouldn't fucking do it. Go talk to your therapist first. But under the effects of that, just contemplate the reality of what it is to be alive here in this beautiful fucking place that we're at, because it's a beautiful place. And realize this one truth: as above, so below. From your assessment of your own life, you might be able to determine in some way the way other people are feeling, no matter where they may be, no matter what language they speak, no matter what culture they were brought up in. I'm not saying you're going to you can understand them in a lot of ways. You can understand the conditioning because you know your own conditioning. You know how powerful a stop sign is to you. You know how powerful a traffic light is to you. You know how powerful a guy in a blue outfit with a fucking silver star on his shirt is to you. You've been conditioned. You know what these things are. You know how powerful the effect of a bill is on your mind. So that's how you can understand the conditioning in other places. It's the same phenomena. Since they were born, they've been being shown symbols that have been imbued with power by the state, and they've been taught that's what's going on. But then you can understand underneath the conditioning what's going on. Right? The thing that doesn't have anything to do with stoplights, traffic lights, dudes in outfits with stars and guns. And that is that moment when you're sitting at home with your dogs or with your lover and the TV's on and it's just nice. Or you're walking outside and the light is hitting just the right way and it's nice. No matter your economic predicament, no matter your health, there's a thing even underneath your health that's beautiful about this place. You know, even if you're like dying, you can still appreciate the beauty of this incredible part of the time-space continuum. This plume of matter rushing into time. It's beautiful. It's beautiful here. And so this is what's really going down, is that we've expanded this kind of shell with spikes and barbs all over the world. Every different game that's being played in the form of a country or a state has grown these barbs. And the barbs have become the defining quality of the thing itself. At least that's the information we're getting. For example, when they talk about Iran and they talk about Iran's nuclear weapons and that Iran hates Israel, you know what they don't talk about? How fucking beautiful Iran is. They don't talk about that. They don't talk about what an incredibly beautiful place it is and how sweet the people there are, how kind they are, how generous they are. They won't tell you that when on the news. You're not going to hear anybody say the angry leaders of a beautiful country filled with sweet people. You won't hear that because they want you to believe that the state is the people. And that's just not the case at all. That's just not the case any more than the armor is the knight. And in this case, it's dark magic armor that has started controlling the knight. So this is what I wanted to say today as I've been contemplating over a beautiful iced latte after my fucking fast. P.S. If you do a 2-day fast, let me tell you something not to do. Don't go and eat chicken and fucking waffles and beer. Just don't do. Why would you do that? Don't do that. You just fasted for 2 days. You cleansed your system. Now you're going to pour fucking carbs down into your poor stomach that just was celebrating its freedom from carbs. Why, Duncan? Why? God damn it, man. It was so fucked up. It was so fucked up. And it was like an instant hangover when I ate it. It was like, instead of waiting for a hangover to happen, it was just immediately a headache, wanting to puke. No joyful intoxication, just a sudden sense of, oh, you just poisoned yourself, you fucking idiot. So don't do that. But the thing that I wanted to say is this, and this is going to be blasphemous. This is going to be a blasphemous thing to say. Because it flies in the face of some schools of Buddhism and definitely some forms of Christianity, maybe a lot of other world religions. I'm going to say it though. The earth is wonderful. And this life is great. And all this shit about like, the cause of suffering is attachment. No. What about no to that? What about no to that idea? What about the idea is that, well, yeah, we love this planet. And that's why we're here. We're not here because like, for example, here's an example. This is a thing that's been occurring to me. In a lot of forms of Buddhism, the idea is that we're here as a form of, or not a lot of forms of New Age teaching. The idea is like, we're here to learn some hard fucking lesson. We're here to learn a lesson, man. We've been sent here, like the way when my parents sent me to the Marine Military Academy in Harlingen, Texas, when I was like 12. And I got fucking verbally assaulted for 2 weeks straight by psychopaths. They want you to believe that's what this thing is. And I've said it, I've fallen prey to this concept myself. And in Buddhism, it's like, you will graduate samsara. You will escape the cycle of birth and death if you let go of your attachment. And you look at the realms, in the human realm is sort of like in the middle, but it's considered to be a great birth. But the reason it's considered to be the most desirable birth is not because you get to hang out in this incredible part of the time-space continuum with the ability to have discipline and create and co-create the universe with God. It's the reason it's great is because it gives you a chance to get the fuck out of the cycle of birth and death and no longer be stuck in this time-space continuum. And I think that's a little bit of a fucking party pooper attitude, if you ask me. A little bit of a fucking party pooper attitude, huh? It's like going to some great party. And your friend's like, man, I hope we never come back here. Like, God, fucking relax, jackass. Figure out a way to enjoy it, you fucking dick. I hope, man, God damn it, man. I tell you this much, I will never come back to this amusement park. Fucking sucks here. You don't even know what else there is. And you're dissing this. Or it's not such an overt hate for the place. It's just kind of a numbness to it altogether. You know? But this is the thing. You should not friend zone Earth. Don't put Earth in the friend zone. That's what I'm saying here. Don't put Earth in the friend zone. This is a beautiful place. And a lot of people treat Earth like a friend instead of a crush, you know? Like they treat Earth like it's like someone who's just always gonna like listen to your shit and but you're never gonna like really have sex with them. You're never gonna show them the deepest part of yourself. You're never gonna really connect to them at a very deep level because, you know, they're just not your type. For a lot of people, Earth just isn't their type, you know, and they're just not that into it, you know? And that's a big, you know what? That sucks. Because Earth is like definitely the friend in the movie that you should end up falling in love with. Definitely. The one that's always there for you, the one that will do anything for you, the one that's so much more beautiful than whatever the thing is that you think you're into. Oh, my career. Oh, my boyfriend. Oh, my marriage. Oh, my girlfriend. Oh, my family. Oh, my kids. No, they're great. But they're all just shining gems on the necklace that is Earth. And the necklace that is Earth is God, is Krishna. And this is the thing. The reason that you friend zone Earth is because you've been friend zoning yourself. Or even worse, you've been hating yourself. That's what it all comes down to. Some people just don't like it here. And the reason they don't like it here, I think, is because they can't get what they want. So the reason you might be hanging out with some guy who's just completely head over heels in love with you, but you are fixated or focused on some other dude or some other thing, and so you ignore that guy, even though they're really cool. Or you might be, you know, fixated on some girl. It's the same thing. And you're completely missing what's right there with you. So don't friend zone the Earth, man. Fall in love with this place. Because this place is worth dying for. And that's one of the deals that you kind of make when you come here. Is that it is so great that you'll die for it. You'll give it your life. Not only will you give it your life, but you will allow life to grow out of your decaying meat body when it goes into the soil. Or your ashes will maybe help some compost pile be a little bit more productive. And that's fucking amazing how much we love this place that we're going to eventually become swirled up and part of. It's amazing. This is a beautiful place. This is not a violence bush, is what I'm trying to say. This is a beautiful playground. And we don't have to keep playing the game that the governments of the planet want us to play. We don't have to keep playing the game of being in the United States. And I don't mean, well, you just leave. No, I mean, we don't have to keep playing that. Now, it's a complex problem because many of us are deeply conditioned to believe that the United States of America, Iran, North Korea, South Korea, Japan, Canada, Russia, all of them are the only game in town. And that the name itself is sacred and could be blasphemed. And the flags can be burnt and the fucking kneel and stand and all these symbols to show some kind of respect for a symbol structure that has been burned into our brain by the state since we were born is somehow more important than us, the people. And this is just not the case. It can't be. I mean, really, if you just think about it, like, obviously what is clearly the most important thing here is for us to begin to cultivate the love for this incredible dimension that we happen to have been parachuted into from a vagina. Like people who've been parachuted into some, or airdropped into some distant alien world and told to colonize it and make it beautiful and make it opulent and incredible and filled with novelty and joy and amazing. Make it amazing, man. That's the thing, right? And that's our job here, I think. I mean, it's so bad to say there is some job here, but for me, I think that my job, or what I like to fantasize about, is to bring joy into this son of a bitch, you know? And make it beautiful. It already is beautiful. All you have to do is listen to her and do what she says. That's sexy. And what she usually tells you to do is to love yourself and to just enjoy this place. Really get the dopamine and serotonin rolling in a way that you can feel how beautiful this place really is. The birds, the fishies, the people, the doggies, the kitties, the music, the sounds. It's not an intellectual thing. You can be, though. The equations, the symphonies, the plays, the novels, the poems, all the way down to coming really hard. It's all great. And then where it gets really interesting is even the pain. Even the pain is perfect. Even the suffering is perfect suffering. And then that's it. And why do you need to get out of this mess? And why do you need more? Really, if you ask me, step one, stop friend zoning the sweet part of it. When I say Earth, I don't just mean literally the flat thing hovering in space. I mean the actual part of the time-space continuum that we're in right now. This zone of happeningness in the multiverse is great. And it is worth dying for. And it doesn't have to be so dramatic. It's worth chipping in to make it a little prettier, a little more beautiful, a little less filled with machine gun fire, a little less balmy. Let's make it a little less balmy. And let's, even if in this particular lifetime we're not going to be able to pull it off, let's allow ourselves the fantasy of what a global utopia would look like. Imagine all the people living for today. That got him shot. If you ask, well, that's the dumb conspiracy theorist in me. But I think that is the picture. And I think that song is a perfect hymn to the new age. And we have to think in those terms. And fuck, you know, right, here's what, right away, when I start like quoting John Lennon, or I start fantasizing about a global utopia, a few people in my life pop into, I don't know if you guys have this or not, like pop-ups in your brain that like have like the face of the most cynical person you know rolling their eyes at you and being like, what the fuck are you talking about? You're one toke over the line, man. I get a few of those right away. Fuck them. Say goodbye to them. Throw them into the fucking compost heap. They could suck our dicks. You could do it. You could just picture it, whatever way you want to picture it, right? But this is the thing that I love thinking about, is just like a couple of things. One, just justice. Just the justice of the people coming to power for real. I don't know how to do it or what it would look like, but just the justice of the disintegration of the oligarchies and hierarchies and theocracies. I just love to think about it, and it's, even though it is really a dark thing to picture, like you picture the people who are most behind the enforcing of arbitrary and ridiculous laws being brought down from their places of power. And it feels good to imagine that. Like, that's justice, man. That's the end of the Karate Kid. That's like what we all want in the movie. But then this is the part where you kind of have to use a little discipline. You don't want to do anything more than let them go through a few months or days of, realizing how crazy they were, and then let them live in this beautiful place with us too. And this is a fun pastime when you're pulling up things to fantasize about. You are allowed to fantasize about true globalization, or what we in the old days called world peace. And the term globalization has been politicized, and it's become like, oh, you must be in the Illuminati if you're talking about globalization. And by that, they mean the elite, the evil version of the Illuminati. But what that means is actually, that kind of globalization is fucked up, what you're thinking about, which is like, a police state where the Darth Vader people come out all over the world and beat people. I mean, this is already happening. Look what's going on in Spain, Catalonia. That's not what I'm saying. And that's not what a lot of us are talking about when we talk about globalization. We're talking about a miraculous happening, which is the shrugging off of the current archaic power structures and systems of government that create hierarchies where there does not need to be hierarchy. And how to get there, I have no fucking clue. But I know I can imagine it, just like our sweet Lord and Savior John Lennon said. And it's so fun to just think about that. It's so fun. I just don't know how to get there. But it's one of the things that kind of drives you nuts. And it's like, I imagine it's probably the way like a bird in a cage feels, or like, an orca at SeaWorld probably feels this like weird sense of possibility, and maybe doesn't understand exactly what that aching feeling is. But it's the same kind of feeling, isn't it? It's like we know that we have the potential as a species to unify, to harmonize, and to actually become a Sinka Beta Tattva, simultaneous oneness and difference. There must be some way to reach this state where we can celebrate each other's independence and individuality and good traits and fucked up traits, and where there's still like, shit to work on personally that's being like, where there's still rooms that we can go into by ourselves and enjoy true autonomy, like where we could still somehow hold on to the parts of our lives that are based on privacy and property, and yet simultaneously get the almost, for a lot of people, not almost, but for many people, the extinct feeling that comes from being directly connected to a vibrant matrix of a community that has celebration and connection and love for this particular zone that we happen to be in the multiverse is their guiding star. And it's just fun to think about. I don't know, man. I don't know how to do it or the way to get there, but it's just fun to imagine. And and then of course, like you roll backwards, and you're like, yeah, well, okay, what are we going to do with the fucking drones and the helicopters and the people with PTSD who've been trained to kill us, and the cops and the guards and the Chef Sessions and the fucking DA and I don't know. But I bet the caterpillar, when it's melting down in its chrysalis, probably has parts of itself where it's like, Jesus, I don't think I can live without that. If that thing, oh fuck, it's going, oh shit, that's melting too. It's just the same thing. It's the same concept. We have to allow our mind to overcome the boundaries of conditioning placed there by the government, by the state. And and go into the black. And religion tells us this place is bad. In Christianity, they'll tell you the earth is like somehow secondary, or it's like sucks. The earth is not as great as heaven. People really believe that. I've heard pastors just bemoaning the horrors of the earth, original sin. And it's fucked up, man. It really is. It's like you grew off of this thing and now you're spitting on it because you want to float into some like goddamn gold heaven place. I don't like it. It's crazy. Don't friend zone the earth. But you have to start letting yourself really blaspheme in these ways. Like, I don't think that's right. I'm sorry, Jesus. And I don't know if you literally hated the earth or said anything about the earth, but a lot of that coming back to blow shit up. I'm sorry. I'm not into that. I'm not going to buy that. I'll take the love stuff, though. I'm sorry. Not into that. The Book of Revelations and that. It's just a fun thing to do. And then with Buddhism, I'm sorry. I don't want to escape the cycle of birth and death. I'm pretty happy here. I want to hang out here and see if I could polish this beautiful place up. See if I could become a appendage of healing on this little thing that I'm in right now. How about that? Now, I'm not saying all forms of Buddhism are about that. There's so many different forms of Christianity, so many different forms of Buddhism. And more than likely, any kind of blasphemy that I am emitting right now is based on my poor comprehension of a vastly deep and incredibly beautiful thing. So my apologies. But even so, if it's based on a lack of understanding, even more reason to blaspheme it. Let it go. Fuck all that. And this is where my brain is at right now, you guys. This is where I keep falling back to, is just realizing like, oh my God, this is just such a beautiful incarnation. This is such a beautiful life. And the times I forget that it's beautiful are inevitably the times when I become fixated on some like aspect of it instead of the totality of the thing itself. Job stuff, relationship stuff, fear of death, fear of telling the truth, fear of being alone. All these things, they're very similar to hanging out with someone that you love and looking at your phone. When you start thinking about these things, you're missing this thing right now, this present moment. This is our baby. This is our sweetie right here. This thing right here. You in your chair, you in your car, wherever you may be. Your body is wonderful. No matter how puffy it may be, no matter how wrinkly it may be, it's a beautiful thing. A beautiful thing. I mean, I'm just going to have to quote the Velveteen Rabbit here. Real isn't how you are made, said the skin horse. It's a thing that happens to you when a child loves you for a long, long, long time. Not just to play with, but really loves you. Then you become real. Does it hurt? Asked the rabbit. Sometimes, said the skin horse, for he was always truthful. When you are real, you don't mind being hurt. Does it happen all at once, like being wound up, he asked, or bit by bit? It doesn't happen all at once, said the skin horse. You become. It takes a long time. That's why it doesn't happen often to people who break easily or have sharp edges, or who have to be carefully kept. Generally, by the time you are real, most of your hair has been loved off and your eyes drop out and you get loose in the joints and very shabby. But these things don't matter at all, because once you are real, you can't be ugly, except to people who don't understand. Ooh, that is a good quote. And who loves us? Who's been loving us? Who loves the hair off of our heads? And who loves the eyeballs out of our heads? And who loves us? Who loves us all the way into old age? That's the earth. That's the universe. That's the universe. It loves us until we dissolve right into it. And the more we begin to understand that relationship and stop confusing the bumps and jolts and jabs and kicks and punches and the cancers and the dead moms and the car accidents and the breakups and the heartbreaks is the jab with a pitchfork of some evil demon sent here to punish us. And the more we recognize those as various forms of the embrace of a divine intelligence that is completely in love with us, then we'll stop friend zoning the earth. And if we stop friend zoning the earth and falling in love with the earth and celebrating life as a human being, instead of trying to get away from life as a human being, then just maybe, if we enough of us start doing that, that'll amplify or accelerate the metamorphosis of our entire planetary of all humans on this planet into a planetary civilization. The answer's got to be somewhere rooted in love, right? It's got to be. And first we have to recognize we're being loved, maybe. And then that we deserve that love. And all the hippy-dippy bullshit. But the first start for me is is to stop being ashamed of loving life. Stop being ashamed of enjoying your life. Stop being ashamed of your quirks or your fetishes or your kinks or your kicks or your thing that you're doing that you think's so bad. Stop doing that. And then see how it changes then. But it's okay where you're at right now. The thing, man. Stand in the mirror and it's fine. Spindly legs, spindly arms, whatever it may be you're dealing with here. This is the way it is. And then maybe that's the answer. I don't know. Maybe that's what gets us there. Because really, the idea is when we come up with a really cool fantasy of like a planetary civilization, then the more you picture it, the more you're going to want to do it. Then we want to act. We want to do something to move us closer to that. And all I can think is that when I am happy, then the people around me tend to be happier. When I am feeling love, whether it's chemically induced or meditation induced or chanting induced or exercise induced, I know that I am more capable of loving people around me. So, and if this is a wildfire of love that we're talking about, that cannot be extinguished by the satanic fire hoses of the state, then that means we have to learn how to burn really hot. Really hot. And there's a lot of different practices for that. And any single one is the right one if it gets you going, if it gets that coal burning bright. Because that's pretty much all we could do. I mean, I don't know. Maybe you can run for president. I don't know who's listening to this. Maybe you're incredibly charismatic and you could really help us. Maybe you're a genius inventor. Do all those things too. I mean, I think that no matter what, the more you blow on the love coal in your heart and the brighter it gets, the more likely it is to spread like a wildfire. This is always the dream. Even if it doesn't work, even if you're in the darkest dungeon, in the deepest part of the darkest cave, the cruelest part of the worst society on earth, you could still blow on that coal and get that love glow going and get it bright. This is the dream. If enough of us do that, maybe a fire will start. And how to get that thing bright, it's got to be from realizing that we are in the embrace of the most incredible lover. A lover that has formed an entire universe around us. A planet around us. I mean, what's sexier than that? A lover who's decided to be all our lovers? Oh, don't worry. No, I'll be every lover you ever had. I'll be every mother. I'll be every father. Wow, that's crazy. I'll be your child. I'll be your birth. I'll be your death. I'll be your thinking. I'll be your intelligence. I'm going to be it all. I'm going to really. Haven't you ever been on LSD having sex and you merge in with your lover? Oh, fuck. That's crazy. That has happened to me a few times where suddenly it's not me anymore. I'm a village and there's a river and I'm like carrying water from the river up to the village. Like that's what sex turns into, is it sort of converts into an actual scene that you're every scene, you're all the parts of the scene. Well, this is the idea. That's what we are. That's what we're in right now. And to allow yourself to just play around with that belief. See if the real question is, what makes that coal burn brighter in you? What makes that thing glow, man? What gets it going? What gets it going? You know, when you get that tickling feeling in your heart and you're like, whoa, it almost, depending on what kind of group of friends or community or state you're in or job you're in, it can actually seem like criminal. Like you're not supposed to feel like that happy. So see what gets that thing glowing like that. You know, get what John Prine called an illegal smile going. Get that glitter in your eye, that recognition that there is the potential. And because there's the potential, it must happen. And it is in process of a new revolution happening. Some new revolution that we don't understand yet. A decentralized revolution that has love as its core. And that this has been going on for a while. And it's just starting to hit the airwaves right now. No matter how many bombings, shootings, crazy presidents, no matter how many chirpings of the apocalypse we hear from the fucking rectangle that glows in our rooms or in our pockets. It's happening. It's happening. You can feel it every time you feel love. Every time you feel that glow in your heart. Every time you look outside and regardless of external condition, realize the perfection of you and all your feelings and all your thoughts. It's part of the great shift. And you can be part of it. And the way to do it is just to allow a bubble to form in your mind. And within that bubble, you can do it right now. See this bubble in your mind? Now look inside that bubble. There's a planet spinning inside that bubble, and that's planet Earth. And look, let's zoom in on that planet. Everywhere we go, there's love. Just start there. I don't know how we're going to get to that point. But I'll tell you this, we're all part of the planet. And if in our own minds we allow a bubble that has a simulation of the planet existing in a state of ecstatic harmony and love, then we get one tiny little bit closer to the thing itself. Praise God. Hallelujah. How fun. Isn't it great? This is why we've been given the ability to simulate reality in our minds. It's the first step. And it's legal. They can't get you for it, man, yet. But we can do that first. And somewhere I think in that game, maybe, there's some possibility for this fire to begin spreading. But regardless, this is the kind of arsonist you want to be. And it's fun no matter what. I mean, just do it. Because no matter what, it's a blast just to imagine. To sit in a coffee shop or an airport or in your car on the way to work or in some busy place and to look around and wonder how many other revolutionaries are there with you. Secretly biding their time, doing their work and doing their own assignments that have been given to them from this internal lover. How many of them are there? Some of them will fucking say hi to you right away. That's what's really cool. They'll just come right up to you and because they see it. Some of them have been working here for a while. And some of them won't. And sometimes you might even be getting tested and you don't even know it. And that's great. It's all part of the same game. And, again, as I will always adhere to our sweet father, Robert Anton Wilson's great advice, we will maintain agnosticism here. We don't want to become loons and start becoming pronoiacs and imagine that we're existing in a universe where everything is helping us and we're surrounded by people who are eternal servants of a divine love that are all working together to try to upshift the particular part of the time-space continuum we're in into a more ecstatic operating system. Because then you'll seem out of your mind. But it's a fun fantasy to have. It's a fun game to play. Just like the one we're currently playing. But better. The one we're currently playing, I'm a citizen of the United States. My social security number is 298-311-2422. Well, that game's boring. Too many forms in that game. Too many bombs in that game. So this is another game to play, and it's a fun one. It's just like, let's just imagine playing a new game. The bubble, the earth, paradise. Oh, wow. Do you see it? Your version's probably going to be different from mine. Mine from yours, but maybe there'll be some similarities there. A lot of LED lights in mine. A lot of sex in mine. A lot of drugs. A lot of good drugs, not bad drugs. A lot of beautiful, super advanced psychoactive chemicals that have been designed because the prohibition has stopped. And so we've been able to dial in certain states of consciousness. Lots of beaches, lots of meditation. A lot of cool fucking outfits, man. Definitely spaceships. Definitely teleportation. Definitely interstellar travel. Definitely visitations by advanced beings. That's in my bubble. You do your bubble. I'll do mine. We don't have to worry about that, but the main thing is just the connection to the potential, no matter how outlandish that potential may be. And that connection happens, that connection produces the glowing, warm feeling, the trembling sweetness when you begin to imagine. It's very similar to the feeling you get when you imagine that someone you have a crush on might like you. Back. That beginning, dawning realization, oh my God, I think this is on. Is this happening? Am I confused? I think this is happening. Oh shit, it's really happening. Well, I think that very same thing can happen on the planetary scale. And I may end up one day sitting in a pile of trash in an alley rambling about this, but it's a fun thing to ramble about. And it's a fun thing to imagine. That felt good to say. All right, that's where my brain is right now, my sweet darlings of Patreon. I'll see you soon. Hare Krishna.